Okay, honestly, I did not think this would be the direction of this video. In fact, I shot an entirely different video and edited it. That was all about what makes headphone studio quality. And I'll still get to those 4 points later, but after spending more time with the MM100s and the LCD-X, the story changed completely. Honestly, I was really looking forward to getting on with these headphones because at the same time, I also received the flagship Audeze LCD-X. And of course, being the flagship and coming so highly recommended from engineers that I look up to like Ryan Schwab and Ben Thomas, I knew that the LCD-X would blow me away. So I kind of figured that the MM100 was probably just a second-rate headphone for folks that couldn't afford the professional quality that the LCD-X brings. But when I'm wrong, and I'll admit it. And this time I was hella wrong. And not just a little bit, man. The MM100s exposed my mix in a way that I just wasn't ready for. The MM100 is not a step down from the MM500 or the LCD-X. It's actually a very useful mixing tool all on its own. I put it like this: if the LCD-Xs feel like the Augsburgers of headphones, beefy low end, exciting, loud, and yet still accurate, then the MM100s have to be the NS10s, like kind of boring, flat, almost annoying and scratchy. Oh wait. That was my mix. I was hearing things that I hadn't heard before, not on any monitors or any other headphones. My mix was exposed. I could clearly hear compression releases that were held too long. The high-end scratchiness that I thought I had cleaned up, it was still there and it was louder than ever. But that clarity helped me pinpoint the issues in my mix and fix them fast. This particular mix had already been on my chopping block for days. So yeah, I was disappointed to say the least when I found out that it didn't translate on these headphones. I even looked at the headphones like it was something wrong with them. But after listening to a trusted reference track, I realized it wasn't the headphones, it was me. My perspective had changed. Proper reference headphones revealed the mixer, not just the mix. I tweaked that mix for about 30 minutes on the MM100s, but I was worried that using unfamiliar headphones might ruin the mix and lead me in a direction I didn't want to be. But when I jumped back on my focals, boom! The mix sounded smoother. The graininess that I had heard on these MM100s was pretty much gone. And when I switched back to the LCD-Xs, it sounded better there too. You know, Wavy hates to be corny, man, but I'm convinced if you can get your mix to sound good on these, it'll probably sound good anywhere. These are the NS10s of headphones, man. All right, real quick, if you're gonna be doing a lot of mixing on headphones, you gotta make sure that you're doing it right. You should take a lot of breaks when mixing, not just on headphones. Your brain will adjust much faster than your ears ever will, meaning that if there's harshness or muddiness, sometimes your brain will lie to you and tell you it isn't there anymore, especially after mixing for long periods of time. You have to step away, give your ears and your brain a break, and come back and listen with a fresh perspective. Often you'll catch details that you were missing while you were a little fatigued. Now, compared to the LCD-Xs, the MM100s have less low end and a slightly smaller soundstage. But to me, that reduced low end makes room for the mid-range and highs to really come into focus. And that's the hardest part to get right in most mixes, and also the most important part. With today's loudness and limiter culture, being able to actually hear distortion and subtle artifacts clearly is crucial. And don't forget about editing. Editing on headphones is almost mandatory. There's just something about the headphones being so close to your ears that highlight the tiniest details, clicks, pops, sudden gain changes, and weird stereo inconsistencies. Every tool has its place, and headphones shine when it comes to versatility. They take the room out of the equation, which is a huge win for home and project studios. They are also often a much more affordable solution over studio monitors. These MM100 headphones are only $400. So if you're serious about mixing and you want a budget, I recommend these even before investing in studio monitors. This is a portable all-in-one solution that takes room acoustics out of the equation. When I heard something that I'd never heard before, I realized that This is another lens, a new microscope for me as an engineer to dissect my mixes and make better decisions that serve the music, serve my client, and serve the vision for how things should sound. Remember that first video that I never uploaded? Well, I came up with 4 things that define studio quality headphones, and honestly, the MM100s for me checks every box. Number 1, honesty. No hype, no bass boosting. What goes in is what comes out. Number 2, detail. Can I hear reverb tails, half a dB EQ moves, space between instruments? 3, stereo imaging and soundstage. Can I hear sound placement properly? Is it too wide? Is it too narrow? And lastly, translation. Can I make mix decisions on these that work everywhere else? It's as simple as that. Here's a bonus tip. Sometimes you'll want your headphones to represent what you'd actually hear in studio monitors. When you're mixing in headphones, your left ear only hears the left channel, and your right only hears the right. That's not how we hear in real life. In a real room, both ears hear a little bit of everything. That overlap is called crossfeed, and it's what makes stereo imaging feel natural and 3-dimensional. We can emulate that with a plugin like Goodhertz Can Opener. It actually recreates how sound would travel across your head if you were sitting between speakers. I usually put Can Opener last on my mix bus when I'm mixing on the go, but when I'm in the studio, my Grace Design M905 and my RME ADI2 DAC both have crossfeed options built in. You don't need crossfeed on all the time, especially if you're editing and doing critical cleanup, but it does add a valuable extra perspective, especially if you're doing most of your mixing in the headphones. If I had all the money in the world, I would still check my mixers on these MM100s. Price does not define precision. Precision defines value. These are the NS10s of headphones for the next generation of mixers. Try them and let me know what you think. And always, be dope, man.